Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Real Money, Real Business podcast. I'm Lauren, and today we have Colin on the show. Colin is selling a display advertising, Amazon Associates, and guest post two-site package business on the Empire Flippers marketplace. Hey Colin, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Hey Lauren, thanks for having me. I'm doing well. It's a little early here outside of LA, but feeling good.
Well, hopefully this is going to be a great way to start your day. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to say and learning more about your business. But before we dive in, I'm going to give the listeners a brief summary of the business. As I said, this is a display advertising, Amazon Associates, and guest post two-site package business. It was created in December 2019 in the technology and electronics niches. The average revenue for the business is $9,453 per month, and it makes an average of $8,968 per month in net profit. The assets included with the business are a primary domain, as well as all the site content and files, additional domains, SOPs, as well as an email list with 92 subscribers. For everyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 60931 to learn more about this business. Or you can unlock this listing to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing this asset. So now that we know more about the business, let's hear from the seller. Colin, can you tell us a little bit about your background in starting and running online businesses?
Yeah, so I've been in the business for about 6 or 7 years now. I've always been doing affiliate marketing and content websites. That's kind of how I got into this space, how I got into SEO. I was self-taught, started learning just on YouTube and from blogs like Niche Pursuits from Spencer Hawes, and kind of just started my first website, and since then never looked back in building content websites.
Okay, great. I mean, it certainly sounds like you've got a bit of experience under your belt. What inspired you to start this particular business?
I think I'm not too different from a lot of SEOs in that we naturally have an interest in, the tech and electronic space, as we're just using these tools every day and experiencing a number of difficulties ourselves. So I've seen various sites in the niche. I had familiar with a lot of the keywords and saw that, this niche had a lot of potential. What's nice is, this one, the domain is very general. So it can really hit any sub niche within the niche. And, the tech niche itself is so big, right? There's an almost unlimited amount of topics that you can write about. So the potential of it and just a little bit of personal interest kind of is why I wanted to go forward with this business.
Awesome. Yeah. So this business earns revenue from a couple of income streams. Can you walk me through the various monetization methods that you have?
Yeah. So the biggest one is through display advertising, which if you told me 2 years ago, I would have been surprised by. So it first started mostly as an Amazon affiliate play. And, probably like 95% of its earnings were to the best articles. Then as I went deeper into the topics and more informational articles started ranking and getting a lot more traffic, that's when I threw on display advertising. And, probably 6 months after that, display advertising earnings started outpacing the Amazon affiliate earnings. So it does to this day earn mostly from display advertising. And then from there, it's some affiliate marketing, mostly through Amazon. So like the best X guides in the space, and then a little bit through some software and other affiliate programs that are on like other networks. And then finally, some guest posts, just because we had so many queries for a long time. I said, man, we got to be using these. And to be honest, we actually turned down most of the queries because I didn't want to link out to low quality sites, and then also just had a particular budget requirement that also does additional filtering. So the site only links out to quality partners just to make sure that the site itself is not seen as a link farm and that, it could be identified or it could be related to, any potential link farms.
Yeah, I mean, you've done a great job of diversifying the business, which I'm sure is great, having multiple income streams like that. Are you affiliated with multiple networks and partners?
Yeah. So, beyond display advertising and the guest posts, right? So, like I said, the affiliate side is mostly monetized through Amazon, but there are a couple of other networks that the site is on and earning some affiliate income. But apart from that, no, like other networks are like ad partners or private advertising or anything.
Yeah. And would you say that there's room to add more networks and partners to the business, or would that spread it a bit too thin?
No, definitely. Like I said, I think one of the things that I liked about the space is that how big it is and the domain of the particular business is very brandable. And, I'd like to add that, I've been talking about one domain, even though it's a 2-site package. They're both in the same space. One doesn't really earn income or traffic anymore, but as I've kind of like shifted some content from the second one to the first one, because the first one has a lot more powerful like domain authority, rankings. So I kind of just saw that as a natural progression.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I think that's important. As you say, it is a 2-site package, so that is an important thing to know. As you say, you've got quite a passion for this space. Why have you decided to sell the business now?
I've had the business for 2.5 years. The project is still fun, but I've definitely lost like the fire for it. I think like a lot of other entrepreneurs, I get shiny object syndrome. So I am looking to use some of those funds to start a new business. And then also just, with the life update, I am looking to get a new home. And so being in Southern California requires a nice chunk of cash to do so.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I hope you can find the home of your dreams pretty soon. Looking back on your journey with this business, what would you say was your biggest win since starting the business?
I think the biggest win was actually aggressively going after informational content and through that increasing the page views to join the good ad networks and really beef up my advertising income. After adding the display ads that, probably increased my revenue by 200% or so. So like 3x'd it, I would say.
Yeah, that's definitely a big one. What would you say was your biggest setback or challenge?
I don't know if there's been a huge setback or challenge in that like it's been pretty smooth. The site has pretty much more or less just like grown very efficiently. Actually, I guess in 2020, there was a little December update that did hit the Amazon earnings a little bit. Fortunately, was just able to kind of like be consistent, continue to do good SEO, and like we were able to bounce back from it. So I would say that was our biggest challenge, kind of like getting a little impacted in 2020 in that I think it was like a product review update or something, some sort of like core update. But then, a couple months later down the road, we were able to definitely recover from that.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you have had pretty smooth sailing, as you say, which is what every business owner dreams of. You mentioned that SEO helped you bounce back from that. Touching on that a bit more, where does the majority of your traffic currently come from?
Yeah, it's pretty much entirely SEO. I don't think other sources really contribute in a meaningful way to the traffic.
Okay, great. Yeah. And have you invested much time in on-page SEO and backlinks?
Yeah, I have a pretty strict publishing process, which kind of corresponds to an on-page process, as well as, I've had my VA do some outreach for backlinks for sure. And so for both of these things, we do have SOPs, kind of like listed instructions as well as videos to help and transition the new owner so that, they know the process, they know these tasks. Maybe it helps them step up their own game and just to help the business succeed.
Awesome. Yeah, I think those SOPs are going to come in really handy. Do you handle that SEO and backlinking process yourself, or do you outsource that to agencies?
Personally, I oversee it. I had someone who spends a little bit of time doing some of the outreach. It's kind of like all done with scale in mind. So it's not like we're individually like emailing each one. And then I kind of just like approve and send payment. So In the past, I have worked with like some providers who are solid, that, I've been thinking about like also going back to, or if I were to keep the business, to go back to just to get more links. And I'm happy to make introductions to these people that I've used before.
Wonderful. Yeah. So over and above SEO, do you do anything else in terms of marketing for the business?
No, I have like scheduled a number of like tweets and like Facebook posts just to make sure or Facebook posts on the page just to like show that it's active. But like, I don't think that's actually amounted to anything. So I stopped and maybe restarted a little bit. Apart from that, I've tried doing like some, like maybe like 5 YouTube videos, which will come with the business, but it really hasn't amounted to anything. So I figured, hey, let's just double down on SEO and continue to do what we know how to do and what makes the most sense for this business.
Yeah, absolutely. And it certainly seems to be working very well. Colin, what would you see as the major opportunities for growth with this business?
I mentioned that I'm convinced SEO is the best option for this business. And a large part of it is, one, my lack of expertise in other marketing aspects, but two, and I touched on this before, just the pure amount of content options for this business. Like, you could have probably a team of 5 people write full time every day, and you would still just never run out of content ideas. Just the tech space is so big and so lucrative. So going with a heavy content strategy and going potentially after some of the more competitive keywords could definitely be lucrative. I've avoided some of the heavier keywords, some of them like in the tech software / privacy space. I think the site could definitely reach out there to expand to these niches, but I haven't done that yet. And I think that's a major opportunity.
Yeah, you touched on the multiple content creation opportunities within the space. Can you walk us through what your current content creation process looks like?
Yeah, so right now we have an SOP that, fairly strict, and it's kind of like, hey, here's these guidelines, and, we have the writers read them, and as well as like a brief that gives an overview. We have a bank of keywords that, I've done a lot of research on and my VA has helped with. And, essentially my VA will just take the keywords, pass it on to the writers. The writers will actually write with Surfer SEO and a software. We get it back, we make sure it's good, and we basically just publish it.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds like you've got that creation process pretty down pat. How often would you say new content is added to the site?
Yeah. Oh, and just to step back, actually, sometimes my VA does write some content. And then, like I mentioned, we will bridge some content from the older site, the one that doesn't really earn much, or if anything, to the biggest site. And that's been something that we've done slowly. But, if I were to hold on to the site, I would start doing it much more aggressively, especially because we've seen the content on the new site really start to index and rank.
Yeah, that's an important thing to note as well, bringing that authority across from the other site. So how often would you say that you add content to the main site?
I've had a variety of like publishing cadences. I think for a while now, it's been about 3 a week.
Okay, perfect. And how do you come up with the topics that you write about?
A lot of it is reverse engineering competitors, a lot of competitors in the space in various niches. And then also just like an understanding of some of the like private affiliate programs and opportunities, understanding payouts and trying to like push towards certain niches definitely guides some of the topics that we want to hit. And, I'd definitely be happy to share this with the new owner just so that they can have like put together a strategy in mind that they want to pursue.
Yeah, I think they'll be very grateful for that. So Colin, what does a typical work week look like for you when running this business?
So it's pretty hands off. I'm pretty happy with, my SOPs and the videos. Like I'm very proud of them. Shout outs to Authority Hacker for when I started with them like 7 years ago to help me kind of like develop these. But basically, with the SOPs and my VAs, I really am not that involved. For me personally, I'll do a little bit of keyword research if I need to. The VA will propose topics from the keywords that, we've done research for, and then I'll say yes or no, depending on which topics, we want to hit and where I think we should go. From there, I do some like backlink approval and payments. Every now and then I'll take a look at the site and maybe like audit it, but like that's like once a month. And then I'll just like put in some like to-dos of like, hey, let's do some interlinking, or let's update this page with like Surfer or FAQs or something. But it's mostly like some task management as opposed to like I'm actually like in the weeds.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like you've streamlined it very well. You've mentioned VAs and writers. Can you run us through the team that you have in place and what everyone does?
Yeah. So this isn't the only site I run. So like, it bleeds through the various opportunities, but the team, there's 2.5 of us apart from myself. And, one of them manages kind of like the writing process and some of the on page. He's been with me a little longer. And so he knows most of the SOPs that I've trained him. The second one, she mostly focuses on formatting of posts. She'll do some like updates of the content. Oh, I also mentioned, so my first guy will also like do some of the outreach for link building. And then for writers, we just work through a number of like contractors and like maybe one agency. We don't like being dependent on a single source. So we work with about 2 or 3 different writing sources for that.
Okay, wonderful. So looking ahead, what do you think the biggest challenge will be for a buyer taking over this business?
It's a fairly straightforward content business, which I think is like what makes this site so appealing. We haven't done anything fancy or confusing or, anything that's like honestly particularly innovative. It's a WordPress content site, so it's very easy to manage. You know what? For some of the smaller affiliate programs, like there are a decent amount that maybe like, 4 to 6 apart from like Amazon and AdThrive that can be like kind of annoying to like run through and check. But apart from that, like this site could be ran by someone like relatively new. And if someone does have experience with WordPress, like I don't see why there'd be any challenges.
Great. Yeah. I'm sure that'll be very encouraging for many of the listeners to hear. When it comes to actually negotiating the sale of the business, would you be open to negotiating something like an earnout?
Yeah, I'm open to it. It's not ideal, just as I mentioned, because of the reason why I'm selling the site, right? Like I am looking to get a home and then also reinvest the earnings into another business venture, both of which like I'd rather not wait, but it's, an earnout is not off the table.
Awesome. Yeah. And would you commit to a non-compete agreement?
Definitely.
Fantastic. So how much support are you willing to offer the buyers during the transition of the sale?
Honestly, as much as the buyer needs within reason, I think like a couple phone calls within a month and then email support for a couple months after is reasonable. I think maybe the buyer would have some questions about like the SOPs and stuff. So myself or the VAs could kind of like step in and like even answer questions for them, like, because I might not know all of them at this point. But I really want to make sure that whoever owns this business is going to succeed with it and see it grow. So however much long the buyer thinks that they would need.
Fantastic. So you've had a great journey with this business. You've learned a lot of lessons along the way. For any aspiring entrepreneurs who are listening, what advice would you give them that you wish you knew when you first started this business?
I would say Amazon affiliate is not like my favorite, and I think not a lot of people's favorites. And so, even though this site was made to initially almost primarily be monetized with them, just branching out and trying other monetizations, display advertising worked really well, but also alternative affiliate programs can be very lucrative.
Yeah, certainly. Your business is definitely proof of that. So, Colin, that takes us to the final question of the interview, and definitely the most important one, which is, if you had to put yourself into the shoes of a buyer, why do you think your business is a business worth buying?
Yeah, it's a fairly straightforward site, so it's going to be a fairly easy transition. There are processes to help it scale and train people, VAs and the owner included, potentially if they're, not as experienced. And the site has seen, pretty stable, steady growth. There's a lot of room to continue and grow. And, it's not easy, but the site could reasonably be making mid 5 figures a month. And I know some sites in the space earn more. So I think, there's a number of reasons it's straightforward, high earning potential.
Yep, definitely a great reason to check out the business. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners that I might have missed?
No, I think that's it at the moment. Again, I was mostly speaking to like one site because really it's mostly just like one site that's been earning in the past year. So if you're just like, oh, why does he keep saying like when it's a 2-site package? Again, it's the first site is really just the most important. The second site is kind of like, I don't even know if it really earns anything anymore, but like it has a number of content that I would kind of just transition to the first site. So apologies for the confusion.
Yeah, I mean, that's an important definition. But yeah, there's sort of the one main business. Thank you again for coming onto the show, Colin. It's been really great learning more about your business and more about the content industry as a whole.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Lauren.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. To learn more and see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 60931. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. Once you've unlocked this listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.